Sister put my name on her wedding debt without telling me. My response left her speechless. I remember exactly where I was standing when my life imploded for the second time. The first implosion had been my divorce 2 years earlier. Painful, but survivable. This one, though? This betrayal cut deeper because it came from someone whose DNA I shared. It was a Tuesday morning in April. I was balancing on one foot in my tiny apartment bathroom, attempting to apply mascara while simultaneously listening to a podcast about financial recovery. The irony wasn't lost on me. After 20 months of living on ramen and working double shifts, I'd finally clawed my way back to something resembling stability. New job at the architectural firm. Credit score inching toward respectability. A studio apartment that didn't share walls with a nightclub. Small victories, but mine. The call came as I was grabbing my travel mug. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost saved myself 10 more minutes of blissful ignorance, but answered on the fourth ring. Hello, this is Amex Collections calling for Eleanor Shepard. Is this Miss Shepard? My stomach tightened. I hadn't owned an American Express card in years. Not since before the divorce. There must be some mistake, I said. I don't have an Amex account. Ma'am, we're calling about your platinum card ending in 4732. The account is currently 90 days delinquent with an outstanding balance of $14,287.63. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. That's impossible. I haven't opened any new credit accounts. The representative's voice remained professionally detached. The account was opened 8 months ago. The primary purchases were made at Eternal Moments Bridal Boutique, Premier Catering Services, and the Grand Plaza Hotel. Bridal Boutique? My voice rose an octave. I'm not getting married. I've never shopped at any of those places. I understand your concern, Miss Shepard. If you believe this is fraudulent activity, it absolutely is. Someone has stolen my identity. After 40 minutes of security questions and case number assignments, I hung up and immediately called my bank, my existing credit card companies, and all 3 credit bureaus. By noon, my throat was raw from repeating the same information, and my kitchen table was buried under scribbled notes and reference numbers. The credit report that arrived in my email that afternoon confirmed my worst fears. There it was in black and white. $14,000 plus in charges I'd never made, a credit limit I'd never qualified for, an account I'd never opened. I called in sick to work and spent the rest of the day in a haze of hold music and escalating panic. Each conversation revealed new horrors. Yes, the account had been opened in my name. Yes, my social security number had been used. Yes, the signature matched closely enough to pass verification. But who would do this? And why wedding expenses, of all things? The answer hit me like a thunderbolt while I was mindlessly scrolling Instagram that evening, trying to distract myself. There on my feed was a photo I'd somehow missed. My younger sister Victoria, radiant in a beaded white gown, champagne flute raised toward the camera. The caption read, "Best day of my life. #JustMarried, #DreamWedding." The date stamp, exactly 6 months ago. I zoomed in on the dress, my hands shaking. Intricately beaded bodice. Cathedral train. Custom veil. The exact description the Amex representative had read from the transaction details. No, I whispered to my empty apartment. She wouldn't. But even as I denied it, pieces were clicking into place. Victoria's sudden engagement last year after only 3 months of dating. Her cryptic comments about finding creative financing when our parents expressed concern about wedding costs. The way she'd insisted I attend the wedding but excluded me from all the planning. I'd attributed it all to her whirlwind romance and our strained relationship. Not once had I imagined she was planning her dream wedding on stolen credit. My stolen credit. My phone buzzed with a text. Another collection agency. This one for a Chase Sapphire card I'd also never applied for, with another $5,800 in charges from a florist and a photographer. The room started spinning. I stumbled to the bathroom and vomited until nothing remained but bitter bile. When I could stand again, I splashed cold water on my face and stared at my reflection, pale, hollow-eyed, betrayed. My sister and I had never been close. Victoria was the golden child, beautiful, sociable, ambitious. I was the practical one, reliable, cautious, always cleaning up messes rather than making them. After my divorce left me financially ruined, the distance between us had widened. She'd viewed my struggle as embarrassing, I'd viewed her materialism as shallow. But this was unimaginable. I pulled up her contact and hovered my thumb over the call button.
No.
Confronting her while I was this raw would be a mistake. I needed evidence. I needed to be certain. Working methodically through my shock, I called the bridal boutique mentioned in the charges. Eternal Moments, how may I help you celebrate your special day? A cheerful voice answered. I swallowed hard. Hi, this is Eleanor Shepard. I believe my sister made some purchases there recently. Eleanor, of course. What can I help you with? Your sister's dress was absolutely stunning. You must have been so proud to give her such a beautiful gift. My knees buckled, and I sank onto the edge of my bathtub. Yes, I managed. Could you tell me exactly what was included in that gift? I'm trying to reconcile some statements. Certainly. The custom Marchesa gown with cathedral train, the mother-of-pearl hair clips, the custom veil, and the Louboutin heels. The total came to just over $11,000 after your sister added the rush alterations. I thanked her mechanically and ended the call. $11,000 for a dress she'd wear once. A dress purchased with my identity, my credit, my future, all stolen without a second thought. The betrayal burned, acid sharp. But beneath the pain, something else was crystallizing, a cold, focused anger I'd never experienced before. I spent the next hour researching identity theft and fraud reporting, criminal charges, civil suits, family estrangement. The potential consequences swirled around me like autumn leaves in a storm.
My phone rang again.
Victoria's smiling face appeared on the screen. My finger trembled as it hovered over the green answer button. What would I say? How could any conversation possibly address this magnitude of betrayal? I took a deep breath and answered. Hey, Ellie. Her voice was bubbly, oblivious. I was thinking of having a little get-together this weekend at Mom and Dad's. Nothing fancy, just family.
Can you make it?
Nothing fancy, just family. As if she hadn't committed a federal crime against me. As if my credit score wasn't plummeting while she planned parties. Sure, I heard myself say, my voice surprisingly steady. I'll be there. Sometimes the most dangerous decisions are the ones that feel the calmest in the moment. As I hung up, I knew with absolute certainty that my relationship with my sister, with my entire family, was about to change forever. I just didn't know yet how completely I would engineer that change. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I transformed my small kitchen table into a war room. Laptop open. Notepad filled with questions. A growing list of vendors to contact. I needed to be methodical, to build an airtight case before confronting Victoria. By dawn, I had compiled a spreadsheet of every fraudulent charge, not just the Amex and Chase accounts, but a Discover card I'd found buried deeper in my credit report. In total, Victoria had racked up nearly $27,000 across 3 cards in my name. The scope was staggering. Bridal gown,
Catering,
venue deposit, honeymoon flights, even her wedding rings, all charged to accounts opened with my stolen identity. With trembling hands, I dialed the credit card companies again, this time requesting copies of all application documents. The Chase representative hesitated. Miss Shepard, these would be the original applications for accounts you're claiming were fraudulently opened? Yes, I affirmed. I need them for the police report I'll be filing. 2 hours later, my email pinged with attachments. The applications contained my correct birth date, address, mother's maiden name, and signatures that were close approximations of my own. Not identical, but similar enough to pass a cursory verification. Victoria had clearly practiced forging my handwriting. The premeditation made me physically ill. I called the florist next, adopting a breezy tone. Hi, this is Eleanor Shepard calling about my sister Victoria's wedding arrangements. I seem to have misplaced my receipt copy. Oh, certainly. The florist sounded delighted. The peonies and garden roses were spectacular. Your sister mentioned you handled all the financial arrangements as your gift. So generous of you. Yes, quite generous, I managed. Could you possibly email me a copy of the invoice? And any communications we had about the arrangements? Just for my tax records. The florist agreed readily. Within minutes, I was staring at emails between Victoria and the vendor. Emails where she explicitly claimed to be me. Hi, this is Ellie Shepherd, Victoria's sister. Please charge any additional arrangements to the card on file. I want her day to be perfect. There was even a voicemail attachment where Victoria, not even bothering to disguise her voice, authorized a $650 upgrade to the bridal bouquet in my name. I felt like I was falling down a bottomless well. With each new discovery, the betrayal cut deeper. I barely remember driving to my parents' house that weekend. The family get-together turned out to be a slideshow of Victoria and Connor's honeymoon in Bali. I sat silently in the back of the living room while my sister narrated photos of infinity pools and sunset cruises. And this private villa was just magical, she gushed, clicking to an image of a luxurious overwater bungalow. Totally worth the splurge. A splurge funded by my ruined credit. After the slideshow, while everyone picked at my mother's cheese platter, I pulled Victoria aside to the kitchen. We need to talk, I said quietly, about the credit cards. She froze momentarily, then recovered with a practiced smile. What credit cards? The American Express, Chase, and Discover cards opened in my name that paid for your wedding. The ones now in collections because no one's making payments. Her eyes darted toward the living room, checking if anyone could hear us. Then she shrugged, reaching for a strawberry from the fruit tray.
Oh, that.
It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. I stared at her, wondering if we were even related. Victoria, you committed identity theft and credit card fraud. That's a felony. She rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. You weren't using your credit anyway. Your score was already in the toilet from your divorce, so what difference does it make? The casualness of her betrayal struck me like a physical blow. The difference is $27,000 in debt that I didn't agree to take on. Debt that's legally in my name. Look, she sighed, lowering her voice. Connor's family has expectations. I couldn't have some budget wedding. And Mom and Dad couldn't afford to help much. You're my sister. Isn't family supposed to help each other? Family asks for help. They don't steal identities. My voice was shaking now. Did Mom and Dad know about this? Something flickered across her face. Guilt, quickly masked. They understood the situation. I pushed past her into the living room, where my parents were arranging coffee cups on the table. Did you know? I demanded. About Victoria using my identity to pay for her wedding? The room fell silent. Victoria's husband Connor looked up in confusion. My father's face reddened, while my mother suddenly became very interested in straightening the napkins. Eleanor, my father finally said, his voice low and warning, this isn't the time or place. So you did know. My mother stepped forward, touching my arm. Sweetie, try to understand. Your credit was already compromised. Victoria needed help, and you weren't in a position to help financially. We thought once she and Connor were settled, they'd pay it all off and no one would be hurt. No one would be hurt? I repeated incredulously. Collection agencies are calling me daily. My credit score has dropped 150 points. I could lose my apartment or my job if they run another background check. You're overreacting, Victoria cut in. It's just money.
Just money.
Just my financial future. Just my trust in my family.
Just my identity.
We're family, my father interjected firmly. And family protects each other. Victoria made a mistake in how she handled this, but you need to keep this between us. No banks, no police reports. We'll figure it out privately. I looked around the room, at my sister's defiant stance, my father's stern expression, my mother's pleading eyes, and Connor's growing confusion. This wasn't just Victoria's betrayal. It was a family-wide conspiracy of convenience, with me as the designated sacrifice. In that moment, something hardened inside me. The last remnants of familial loyalty crystallized into resolve. "You're right," I said slowly. "Families should protect each other." They visibly relaxed, misinterpreting my calm for acceptance. Little did they know I wasn't planning on protecting them. I was planning something else entirely. I left my parents' house that evening with a placid smile and murmured goodbyes. "We'll work through this," I assured them, accepting my mother's relieved hug. Victoria shot me a triumphant look over Mom's shoulder, already mentally relegating my financial ruin to yesterday's problem. They had no idea what I was planning. Monday morning, I called in sick to work for the second time that week, something I'd never done before. Instead of heading to the architectural firm, I walked into the local police station and requested to speak with someone about identity theft. Officer Denise Martinez took my statement, her expression growing increasingly grave as I laid out the evidence I'd gathered. "Family fraud cases are some of the toughest," she said, sliding a victim statement form across the desk. "People often back out of pressing charges when they realize the consequences their loved ones will face." I sign my name, my actual signature, with a steady hand. "I understand the consequences." "So should she." Officer Martinez nodded. "We'll need all the documentation you've collected. And Miss Shepard? Document everything from this point forward. Every conversation, every text message. It all matters." Next stop, my bank. I closed every account and opened new ones at a different institution, with enhanced security features and fraud alerts. I changed every password, security question, and contact method for my financial accounts. I froze my credit at all 3 bureaus. By Wednesday, I had consulted with Mira Patel, a lawyer specializing in identity theft. Her office was small but immaculate, with framed success stories on the walls. $27,000 across 3 fraudulent accounts, she summarized, reviewing my documents. "And your sister has made no payments on any of them?" "Not a single one," I confirmed. She and her husband just bought a condo. Apparently, my credit wasn't important enough to make their budget. Myra's eyebrows rose. "A condo purchase? Recent. Last month. Why?" She pulled out a notepad. "I'd like the address and any information you have about their mortgage. If they used fraudulent means to secure financing, like claiming the debt on your credit wasn't theirs during the application process, that's another level of fraud." I hadn't even considered that angle. While Victoria had been posting poolside honeymoon selfies and condo renovation updates, I'd been fighting collection calls. Meanwhile, she and Connor had somehow qualified for a mortgage loan despite having taken on substantial undisclosed debt. I left Myra's office with a clear action plan and a court date 8 weeks away. The civil suit would seek damages for the fraudulent debt, damage to my credit score, emotional distress, and legal fees. The criminal investigation would proceed separately. "Don't discuss the case with your family," Mira warned. "Any communication could be used to claim you were aware of or approved the use of your identity." I nodded. I've already started distancing myself. I told them I needed time to process everything. Over the next few weeks, I maintained radio silence with my family while methodically building my case. I recorded every collection call. I documented every credit score drop. I printed every email and text message that mentioned the wedding expenses. Through a college friend who worked in real estate, I confirmed my suspicions. Victoria and Connor's mortgage application listed their combined income and existing debt obligations, but nothing about the $27,000 wedding expense. They had knowingly committed mortgage fraud on top of identity theft. All the while, Victoria carried on as if nothing had happened. Her Instagram feed became a showcase of their new life: coordinated furniture deliveries, gourmet kitchen appliances, custom closet installations. The captions were always the same smug humble brag. "So blessed to be building our dream home. #adulting, #newlywed life." Each post strengthened my resolve. My mother called occasionally, leaving cautious voicemails about hoping we could put this misunderstanding behind us and inviting me to Sunday dinners I never attended. My father sent a single text: "Family issues stay within the family." Period. I didn't respond to either of them. Instead, I focused on rebuilding what I could of my financial life. I disputed the fraudulent accounts on my credit reports. I set up payment plans with the collection agencies while making it clear I was pursuing legal action against the actual debtor. I documented everything. 6 weeks after filing the police report, I received an unexpected call from Connor. His voice sounded strained. Eleanor?
Can we talk?
Privately? About what, Connor? I just found out about the credit cards. Victoria told me your parents helped pay for the wedding. I had no idea she used your identity. Part of me wanted to believe him. Connor had always seemed like a decent guy, hardworking, honest, a bit overwhelmed by Victoria's personality. But I'd grown cautious. When did you find out? I asked. Yesterday. His voice cracked. I found collection notices she'd hidden. When I confronted her, she broke down and told me everything. Eleanor, I'm horrified. This isn't who I thought I married. Did she tell you that Mom and Dad knew? A long pause.
Yes.
That's part of why I'm calling. I need to understand what actually happened. All of it. Why come to me now, Connor? The wedding was 6 months ago. The debt has been accruing interest this entire time. Because it's wrong, he said simply. And I need to make it right. I considered his words carefully. Connor could be a valuable ally, or this could be another trap. Victoria's throwing a housewarming party next weekend, he continued. She doesn't know I'm calling you, but I think you should come. Bring whatever documentation you have. I want to fix this. After I hung up, I sat motionless, weighing his words against the evidence of deceit I'd gathered. Could I trust Connor to help make things right? Or was he just another player in Victoria's game? Either way, the housewarming party presented an opportunity one couldn't ignore. Time to accelerate my plans. The housewarming invitation arrived via group text 3 days after Connor's call. Join us to celebrate our new home. Saturday, 6 p.m. Food, drinks, and tours of the condo. #new chapter. Victoria had included family, friends, and both sets of in-laws in the message. My name was conspicuously absent. I waited, wondering if Connor would intervene, but no separate invitation came. Then, Friday afternoon, my phone chimed with a private text from Victoria. Hey sis, just realized you weren't on the group invite. Totally an oversight. We'd love for you to come tomorrow. 6 p.m. No need to bring anything. An afterthought. A courtesy invitation. Perhaps even Connor forcing her hand. I texted back a simple, "We'll be there," and began finalizing my preparations. That evening, I met with Mira for a last-minute strategy session. Her office lights burned late as we organized my evidence into a comprehensive presentation folder. Are you absolutely certain you want to do it this way? Mira asked, watching me label dividers. We could serve them privately, without the audience. I shook my head. Victoria thrives on appearances. She destroyed my credit to maintain her perfect image. The only consequences she'll understand are public ones. And Connor? You said he reached out. I don't know if I can trust him, I admitted. But I'm prepared either way. I left Myra's office with 2 items, a small gift box containing a USB drive with all my evidence and a formal letter outlining my demands and the contact information for a professional process server who had agreed to my unusual request. Saturday evening arrived with perfect weather. Warm with a gentle breeze, the kind of spring evening that makes new beginnings seem possible. I dressed deliberately. Charcoal pencil skirt, crisp white blouse, sensible heels. Professional.
Composed.
The opposite of the emotional wreck Victoria had likely described to everyone. The condo building was in the trendy downtown district, all glass and steel with a doorman and a rooftop garden. 2 months' worth of my salary would barely cover a month of their mortgage payment. I swallowed my bitterness and approached the front desk with a confident smile. Eleanor Shepard for Victoria and Connor Evans. The elevator whisked me to the 12th floor. I could hear laughter and music before the doors even opened. I paused in the hallway, checking my phone for the confirmation text I'd been waiting for. A message from Richard, the process server. In position. Blue shirt, near the wine table. Will follow your lead. I drew a deep breath and knocked. Connor opened the door, his expression a complicated mix of relief and anxiety. Eleanor, you came. I said I would. I kept my voice neutral, aware of nearby guests. Thank you for the invitation. Victoria appeared behind him, champagne flute in hand. Her smile faltered momentarily before she recovered, embracing me with theatrical affection. Ellie, so glad you could make it. She pulled back, studying my face. We were worried you were still upset about that silly misunderstanding. Silly misunderstanding. $27,000 of fraud reduced to a trivial disagreement. I smiled tightly and handed her the small, elegantly wrapped box I'd brought. A housewarming gift. Don't open it yet. Save it for when you're opening the others. She set it aside without a second glance. Come in. Let me show you around. The renovations are almost complete. The condo was stunning. Open concept with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Quartz countertops gleamed in the kitchen. Custom cabinetry lined the dining area. A massive sectional sofa dominated the living room, where about 20 guests mingled with drinks and appetizers. I spotted my parents near the fireplace, their expressions wary when they saw me. Victoria's in-laws, a judge and a corporate attorney, were deep in conversation by the windows. Several friends from college, a few colleagues of Connor's, and some neighbors rounded out the gathering. Near the wine table stood Richard, process server and part-time actor, convincingly playing the role of Connor's old college friend. Victoria led me through a practice tour, detailing each design choice and renovation decision with pride that bordered on smugness. We completely gutted the master bath. You should have seen it before, so dated. The Italian marble alone cost a fortune, but some things you just can't compromise on. I nodded politely, counting down the minutes. After the tour, Victoria guided everyone to the living room. Dinner will be ready soon, but first, Connor and I want to open your lovely gifts. Guests gathered around as Victoria perched on the sofa arm, Connor beside her. She opened each present with exclamations of delight. Artisanal wine, luxury candles, high-end kitchen gadgets. Each gift came with a card expressing warm wishes for their future in their beautiful new home. Finally, she reached for my small box. This is from Eleanor, my big sister, she announced, peeling away the silver wrapping paper. I moved closer, positioning myself where everyone could see both of us. Victoria lifted the lid and froze, her smile vanishing as she stared at the contents. Connor leaned over, confusion crossing his face as he registered the USB drive and formal letter. What's this? Victoria asked, her voice suddenly tight. Documentation, I replied calmly. Of the American Express, Chase, and Discover credit cards you fraudulently opened in my name to pay for your wedding, along with a formal demand for repayment and a notice of the civil suit I've filed against you. The room went absolutely silent. Victoria's face drained of color. You wouldn't, she whispered. I turned to Richard and nodded. He stepped forward, extracting legal papers from his jacket. Victoria Evans, he asked formally. I'm here to serve you with legal documents regarding case number 47823, Shepard versus Evans, for the crimes of identity theft, credit card fraud, and defamation of character. He handed the papers to Victoria, who sat motionless, clutching them like they might explode. The criminal investigation is proceeding separately, I added, my voice carrying in the silent room. Those charges will come from the district attorney's office. Victoria's mother-in-law, the retired judge, moved closer, taking the papers from Victoria's limp fingers. Her father-in-law joined her, reading over her shoulder with growing dismay. My sister finally found her voice. You can't do this to me, she hissed. We're family. I smiled sadly. Yes, we are. That's what makes your betrayals so unforgivable. Chaos erupted in the elegantly appointed living room. What is the meaning of this? Victoria's father-in-law demanded, legal training evident in his authoritative tone. Before I could respond, my father pushed through the stunned guests. This is a private family matter, he insisted, trying to usher Victoria and the papers away from prying eyes. There's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I countered, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Victoria opened multiple credit accounts in my name without my knowledge or consent. She charged her entire wedding to those cards and made 0 payments. The evidence is irrefutable. Connor stood frozen, looking between Victoria and me with dawning horror. "You said your parents paid for the wedding," he said to Victoria. "You told me everything was handled." "It was handled," Victoria snapped, mascara already starting to run as tears formed. "Ellie's just being dramatic. She's always been jealous of me." Jealous? I almost laughed. Of identity theft? Of $27,000 in fraudulent debt? Victoria's mother-in-law, Judge Janet Evans, took the USB drive from the box. $27,000? She repeated, her judicial composure cracking. "Victoria, is this true?" "It's complicated," Victoria stammered. "Actually, it's quite simple," I interjected, addressing the room. "I have the credit card applications with forged signatures. I have recorded calls with vendors confirming Victoria identified herself as me. I have the collection notices for accounts I never opened." One of Victoria's friends slipped quietly toward the door. Then another. The neighbors exchanged uncomfortable glances. Connor's colleagues busied themselves with their phones, desperate to be anywhere else. My mother tried a different approach, stepping forward with pleading eyes. "Eleanor, honey, this isn't how family resolves things. We can work this out privately." "I tried that," I reminded her. "6 weeks ago, I told you what Victoria had done. You and Dad told me to keep quiet and handle it within the family. But none of you actually handled anything. The debt continued growing. My credit continued suffering. And Victoria continued living her perfect life at my expense." Judge Evans placed a hand on Connor's shoulder. "Son, I think we need to have a private conversation. Now." Connor nodded numbly, following his parents toward the master bedroom. Victoria tried to join them, but her father-in-law shook his head. "Just Connor for now." Left alone in the spotlight of public scrutiny, Victoria's composure shattered completely. "How could you humiliate me like this?" she sobbed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "On tonight of all nights. You mean like how you humiliated me by stealing my identity? Or how you humiliated me by telling everyone I was too broke to help with your wedding when you were actually funding it with my stolen credit?" My father stepped between us. "That's enough, Eleanor." "No, it's not nearly enough," I replied. "For months, I've been fighting collection calls while Victoria posts Instagram photos of her honeymoon and condo renovations. For months, I've been trying to protect what's left of my credit while she builds her perfect life on a foundation of fraud." I turned to address the remaining guests directly. "Victoria didn't just steal my identity for her wedding. She and Connor qualified for this condo's mortgage by concealing the fraudulent debt she'd accumulated. That's mortgage fraud, another federal crime." Victoria's face went from red to ashen. "You're lying." "Am I? I have a copy of your mortgage application. Nowhere does it list the $27,000 debt in my name that you used to fund your wedding. Your lender might be very interested in that information." The few remaining guests began making hasty excuses to leave, mumbling awkward congratulations on the new home as they edged toward the door. Within minutes, only family remained in the once crowded living room. My mother collapsed onto the sofa, hands covering her face. My father stood rigid, anger and embarrassment battling across his features. Victoria paced frantically, alternating between sobs and furious glares in my direction. "You've ruined everything," she hissed. "No, Victoria. You did that when you decided my financial future was an acceptable price for your perfect wedding." The master bedroom door opened. Connor emerged alone, his expression grim. His parents remained inside, visible through the doorway in what appeared to be an intense discussion. "I've just had a very illuminating conversation with my parents," Connor said quietly. "They've made their position clear. This needs to be resolved immediately and legally." Victoria rushed to him. "Connor, baby, don't listen to them. Ellie's just trying to cause trouble. Stop." His voice was flat. "Just stop, Victoria. I've seen the evidence. Your sister isn't lying." He turned to me. "Eleanor, I want to apologize. I genuinely had no idea about any of this. Victoria told me her parents were covering most wedding costs, and we were handling the rest. I never saw the credit card statements because Victoria insisted on managing our finances. He ran a hand through his hair. My parents are, well, they're furious. My father says this could affect my legal career if it becomes public record. There are ways to resolve this without a public trial, I offered. But they all involve full restitution and consequences for Victoria. Name your terms, Connor said. Victoria gasped. Connor, you can't be serious. I've never been more serious, he replied, not looking at her. My parents have made it clear, either we fix this immediately or they'll withdraw their support. All of it, including the down payment they gifted us for this condo. The realization of her crumbling position dawned slowly across Victoria's face. Her perfect world, funded by fraud and maintained by lies, was collapsing around her. Her husband was siding with me. Her in-laws were appalled. Her friends had witnessed her humiliation. For the first time in her life, Victoria was facing actual consequences. I didn't ruin your wedding, I told her quietly. You just didn't think the consequences would show up dressed nicely at your housewarming party. Victoria sank to the floor, designer dress pooling around her, and buried her face in her hands. My mother finally found her voice. What happens now? I looked around at what remained of my family: broken trust, exposed lies, shattered relationships. Now, I said, we negotiate the terms of justice. The days following the housewarming party unfolded like scenes from a drama I never wanted to star in. Victoria barraged me with texts alternating between rage and desperate pleas. I forwarded them all to Mira without responding. My parents called hourly until I blocked their numbers. Even distant relatives reached out, some expressing shock at Victoria's actions, others chiding me for taking family matters public. 3 days after the party, Connor requested a meeting at Myra's office. He arrived alone, carrying a leather portfolio and the weight of disillusionment on his shoulders. Victoria's still in denial, he said, settling into a chair across from me. She insists she was going to pay everything back eventually, that this was just a timing issue. $27,000 is more than a timing issue, Mira noted coolly. Connor nodded. I know. My parents have made that abundantly clear. He opened his portfolio and slid a document across the table. I've spoken with my own attorney. This is my proposal for full restitution. The terms were straightforward. Connor would pay the entire debt immediately, plus an additional $5,000 for legal fees and credit monitoring services. In exchange, I would drop the civil suit and agree not to press criminal charges. Victoria had no right to do what she did, he said quietly. But I'm trying to salvage what I can of our futures. A fraud conviction would end my legal career before it begins. I studied him carefully. This protects you and Victoria from legal consequences. What protects me from her doing this again? I've frozen all our joint accounts and removed her access to our finances. I'm requiring her to attend financial counseling as a condition of continuing our marriage. He hesitated. And there's one more thing I'd like to add to the agreement, which is a public acknowledgement. Victoria needs to admit what she did in writing and apologize. My parents and I agree she shouldn't escape the social consequences of her actions, even if she avoids legal ones. I exchanged glances with Mira, who raised an eyebrow in surprised approval. I'll need time to consider your offer, I said. Connor stood. Of course. But please don't take too long. Either way, I need to know what future I'm facing. After he left, Mira turned to me. It's a generous offer. Better than we might get after a lengthy court battle. It is, I agreed. But something's missing. 2 days later, I presented my counteroffer. Full debt repayment, legal fees, 5 years of premium credit monitoring, and a notarized statement from Victoria acknowledging the fraud, with copies provided to both of our employers, all credit bureaus, and our extended family. The agreement would also include a legally binding promise that she would never again use my personal information for any purpose. Connor accepted immediately. Victoria, according to his brief text message, cried for 6 hours, then signed. The money hit my account the following week. The credit card companies received direct payments from Connor's personal funds. Slowly, the collection calls stopped. My credit monitoring service reported that the fraudulent accounts were marked as paid in full, disputed, account closed. Victoria's notarized statement was clinical and precise, as specified in our agreement. I, Victoria Evans, hereby acknowledge that I knowingly and willfully used the personal identifying information of Eleanor Shepard without her knowledge or consent to open credit accounts and incur substantial debt. I accept full responsibility for these fraudulent actions and the resulting financial damage. This statement serves as both acknowledgement of wrongdoing and a formal apology to Eleanor Shepard. The copies went out to everyone outlined in our agreement. I received a flurry of shocked responses, including a tearful voicemail from my aunt. I had no idea, Eleanor. Your mother told everyone you were being dramatic about a simple misunderstanding. I'm so sorry I believed her. My parents eventually sent a carefully worded email expressing regret for the situation, without actually admitting their role or offering a genuine apology. I filed it away without responding. 6 months passed. My credit score slowly rebounded. I received a promotion at work and moved to a larger apartment. Life began to normalize in a way I hadn't experienced since before the divorce. Then came an unexpected letter, hand-delivered, not trusted to mail. Connor's business card was paper-clipped to the envelope. Inside was a personal letter from him. Eleanor, I wanted you to hear this from me directly. Victoria and I are divorcing. After extensive counseling, I've realized our relationship was built on shifting foundations of lies and manipulation, the credit card fraud being just one example. The trust is irrevocably broken. I don't regret paying her debt to you. It was the right thing to do. But I need to build a life based on honesty and mutual respect. I've accepted a position with a firm in Seattle and will be moving next month. Your sister is facing this divorce with the same denial that characterized her response to the fraud, blaming everyone but herself. Your parents continue to enable her behavior. I thought you should know that you were right to enforce boundaries. I admire the strength it took to stand up to your family when they betrayed you. It's inspired me to find my own strength. Thank you for that unexpected gift. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it into my desk drawer. No satisfaction, no vindication, just a quiet acknowledgement that sometimes justice comes in unexpected forms. 2 years have passed since Victoria stole my identity. We haven't spoken since the housewarming party. My parents occasionally send tentative texts, testing whether I'm over it yet. I respond politely, but maintain firm boundaries. Some family members have chosen sides, others attempt awkward neutrality. Holiday gatherings are smaller now, but somehow more genuine. As for me, I've learned that family isn't just defined by blood and obligation. True family, whether related or chosen, is built on respect, honesty, and mutual support. My credit score is now higher than it's ever been. My financial literacy has grown exponentially. And the trust issues? They're healing slowly but steadily, like any significant wound. Some debts can be repaid with money. Others require a currency far more valuable: accountability, genuine remorse, and changed behavior. Victoria paid the first kind but never understood the second. That's her loss, not mine. I'm building a new life now, solid foundation, stronger boundaries, and a hard-earned wisdom about what family should truly mean. And for the first time in years, I feel remarkably, unexpectedly free.